It is Monday night, January 16th. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to everybody out there. Another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show coming at you, episode 322 live on the IC Sports Network, on the IC Sports Network Twitter page, and the Tan and J-Man Show Facebook page, and also the audio will be up wherever you get your podcasts at. The J-Man, as all of you watching can see, is not joining me tonight. He is instead watching his Illinois Fighting Illini take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers right now. That game's in progress, and he's probably still getting over the Dolphins' heartbreaking loss to the Buffalo Bills yesterday in Super Wildcard weekend. So filling in for the J-Man, like he does often, is my father, Eric Lee. Dad, how you doing? Got to be doing pretty good that the Boilers got a big win for us.
I'm doing better now than I was about an hour ago. So, yep,
yes.
Doing well.
Yes, gotta love Big Ten basketball tight games. They make your hair go gray and your blood pressure skyrocket. At least they do in my case.
This was brown before the game started. So
there's a reason I'm wearing a hat tonight. But we'll get into that in more detail here in just a bit. But to start off the program, do you have a birdie or bogey question ready for me? Because it is my turn to answer one, and Josh and I are tied at 1 over par. Imagine that.
I think it's a good one.
Oh, boy.
As you well know, Trevor Lawrence won a playoff game yesterday throwing 4 interceptions. That's only happened 2 other times since the 1970 merger. One was Joe Ferguson, who you probably don't even know, back in 1981. The other guy you would be familiar with. Who was the other quarterback to win a playoff game throwing 4 interceptions?
Wow, that's a really tough question because I can think of a lot of guys who've thrown 3, but I don't know if they've thrown 4.
1 through 4. Do I have to give you any type of clue?
No, don't give me any hints.
All right.
Nope, it's either. And I like how you did it because I'm either going to get it right for a birdie or wrong for a bogey. It's no 2 or 3 answer part question. There's going to be no pars. So hopefully I can get a birdie here and get back to even par because we're already off to a bad start.
Yeah, the way you put it could be a double bogey. But that's
I knew that. I knew something like that was coming. That's why I was trying to dance around it. But the birdie or bogey segment is brought to you by, like it will be every week in 2023, the Arlington Public House. Arlington Public House is open for the first night, I should say, tonight of 2023. And then they'll be open Monday through Saturdays for dinner. And if you might be wondering what type of food you can get at the Arlington Public House, well, it's a upscale cuisine and cocktails with a casual atmosphere in Rochester, Indiana. And for instance, tonight's special is a buffalo chicken ranch sandwich. It's deep fried chicken with lettuce, tomato, white American cheese, buffalo sauce, dill ranch, served with fries, only for $15. And that's just a sample of what you can get there. And Dad, I know you can speak to it as well. You can get steaks there. You can get seafood.
Yeah. Great pork chops. If you like pork chops, it's thick and big and
thick pork chops. Kind of like I said last week, it's a big city food in the small town of Rochester, Indiana. So,
yep.
Gotta love it. So if you're in the northern Indiana area, and around Rochester, go check out Arlington Public House. You will not be disappointed. And we thank them for the support of the podcast. Well, how about we get started with some on this day? Let's get educated real quick before we get into some other stuff. Let's see here. I got to bring it up. I haven't even looked at it yet. So on this day, sporting events that have happened on January 16th. A lot of cricket events. On this day, 1962, the 12th NBA All-Star Game was held at the St. Louis Arena in St. Louis, Missouri. The West beat the East 150 to 130. That's a lot of points without the three-point line.
Yeah, that's right up 2 months before old Wilt scored 100 in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Game that instead of being in Philly, they put it in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So.
Any guess who the All-Star Game MVP was for that one?
Dolph Shays.
Don't know who that is, but good guess, I'm going to say. It was Bob Pettit of the St. Louis Hawks. He had an All-Star record of 27 rebounds.
He was the first player to ever score 20,000 points in the NBA.
See, that's why we have you on here.
Mm-hmm.
On this day, 1966, Chicago Blackhawks right wing Bobby Hall scored 4 goals, his 17th career hat trick, in a 6-5 loss to the New York Rangers. He became the first player in team history to score 300 goals.
The Jet.
Also on this day, 1966, Chicago sports related, Chicago was granted an NBA franchise to be called the Bulls, becoming the third NBA franchise in the city after the Chicago Stags were there from 1946 to 1950, and the Chicago Packers/Zephyrs, now Washington Wizards.
Okay.
I did not know that.
Well, the Washington Wizards then, or before that, were the Baltimore Bullets.
Bullets, yes.
Yeah, then became the Washington Bullets, and then the Washington Wizards.
On this day in 1972, who won Super Bowl VI?
Super Bowl VI. Let's see, 4 or 5. That would have been Dallas 24, Miami 3.
You are correct. MVP?
For Dallas, it would have been, I think, Calvin Hill.
Roger Staubach.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. On this day, 1988, the NFL announced the St. Louis Cardinals would be moving to Phoenix.
Yeah.
On this day in 2019, Golden State Warrior guard Stephen Curry became the first player in NBA history to hit 8+ 3-point field goals in 3 consecutive games. He went 9 of 17 threes in the Warriors' 147-140 win over the New Orleans Hornets. Or Pelicans, excuse me. It just says New Orleans. That'd be Pelicans. The teams combined for an NBA record 43 3-pointers.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That is a lot. Let's see here. Also on this day in 2019, Houston guard James Harden became the first player to score 55-plus points in back-to-back NBA games since Wilt Chamberlain in 1962. He scored 58 in 145-142 OT loss to Brooklyn. 18 games straight James Harden had with 30-plus points going that season.
That's incredible.
He can score.
Yeah.
He can score the ball. Doesn't like to pass.
Yeah, I was thinking Luka might have approached that. I think he got up to 17 or 18 games this year, 30 or more in a row.
And that is going to do it for the On This Day segment, which is brought to you by Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, and their pieces are a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. To see some of their recently completed projects, just visit them at Mooney Woodcrafts on Instagram and on Facebook, and let them know the Tan and J-Man Show sent you for 15% off your order. We got that promo going on throughout the year of 2023. So if you're interested in getting a sign or growth chart, something like that made, let Thad know, and you can email him for orders right through the Instagram or Facebook page. So, all right. Well, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Big Ten hoops, NFL playoffs, Super Wildcard weekend. But let's start off with Big Ten hoops since we had one game coming to completion today. That was Purdue's 64-63 win up in East Lansing against the Michigan State Spartans. And we have one in progress, the Illinois Fighting Illini. Last time I knew, we're leading the Minnesota Golden Gophers up in Minneapolis. But, yeah, Dad, whenever Purdue and Michigan State get together, especially in the Breslin Center up at East Lansing, you got to think it's going to come down to the final shot.
Yeah, I think they were showing this was like the 4th time in the last 6 or 7 years. I know Bridges hit one on us and Trevion hit one on them. And then the Walker kid hit one on us last year. I think it was the only bucket of the game. Today, he had 30.
Today.
Yeah, he was amazing. So, yeah, huge win. Purdue benefited. Malik Hall, probably their 3rd best player, maybe 4th. I would say the 2 guards and Hauser, but a key player for him was out. Sure. He may be out for a while, but
sure. Sounds like he is going to be out for a while.
Yeah, that's a tough place to win. I think Michigan State brought it. I'll be interested to see how well they do next game because I think you put that much energy into one game and you lose it, it's monumental. So we'll see. But great win for Purdue. I think they've had 4 games out of their 7 Big Ten games that have come down to the last 2 seconds. And fortunately, we're 3-1 in those games. So
yeah, they're finding ways to pull it out. I thought the Big Ten Network put it pretty good after the game. You know, some people might be looking at Purdue's record and winning these close games saying, they're not blowing people out. But usually don't blow people out in March come, conference tournament play or March Madness. So it's usually tight games. So they're already proven in the middle of January with a pretty young team. I mean, a bunch of freshmen that are key contributors to this team, that they can pull these games out, not only at home, but on the road.
Right. That's the impressive thing. Nebraska, Ohio State, and now this one were all games that we could have easily lost. A couple big plays at the end. I know the 85% foul shooter for Michigan State missed 2 when they had a chance to go up 3, and then they made a stupid foul with 30-some seconds to go, and Fletcher Lawyer got 2. But they came down and hit a big hoop, and then we went into Big Zach, who had 32 points today, shot exactly half the team shots. 26 of the 52 were attempted by Purdue today were shot by Zach. So, we had a few problems exposed. You love to have Ethan Morton out on the floor. He has wide open on threes and could not hit any of them. So they ended up playing Brandon Newman quite a bit late in the game. And I actually thought he played a pretty good game. He only shot 1 time, but he only had 1 turnover, and he did a good job on defense and passing. But, it's just always good. If there are recruits watching and you're a guard, you probably think, I don't know if I want to go to Purdue. But it's pretty rare that they go to Zach that much. It's just the way Michigan State was guarding us. They kind of forced it, they kind of played him one-on-one most of the time, and Zach did not shoot a great field goal percentage. He was 13 for 26. You don't see Zach miss 13 shots very often, but he did today.
I was glad you brought that up, how Michigan State was guarding Purdue, because Izzo did that last year.
He did.
Savion and Zach Edey got whatever they wanted up at East Lansing, but they got the last laugh and hitting a buzzer beater.
Yeah, they did that with Isaac Haas a few years back.
They did, and that's his philosophy. And more times than not, it at least keeps the game close, it seems like. What are you surprised other teams don't adopt that strategy?
Well, Nebraska had just the opposite strategy. They double and triple teamed him both games we played against Nebraska, and that actually worked pretty well. I think it's pick your poison. Yeah. Purdue didn't get suckered into shooting too many threes today. They were 4 for 10, which is, 40% from threes, great. And Purdue's defensive strategy on Michigan State was try to force them into those 15-foot pull-ups, and they were hitting them.
Right.
At least they were in the second half. First half, when it was 24-11, I was already lamenting that we probably should have been up 34-11.
Yeah.
But
Michigan State did not look good early out.
They did not. But man, there was a stretch in the second half for about 7 or 8 minutes where neither team could miss, and it turned a really probably almost unwatchable game unless you're a Purdue Michigan State fan into a heck of a finish, and lucky to get out of there.
Really, college basketball fans that tuned in to a doubleheader on Fox, they got 2 pretty good ball games.
Right.
Georgetown and Villanova, you're thinking, why are these 2 teams on Fox? And Georgetown. Oh, yeah. Patrick Ewing, this is why you don't hire legends. It doesn't end well. It doesn't end well.
Yeah, they can't keep him.
No, they're awful.
Yeah.
And then Purdue and Michigan State goes down to the wire. And really, I was really impressed twice. Michigan State gets up 4 late in the game. And then the Fort Wayne boys, Caleb First, Fletcher Lawyer, make huge plays. Caleb hits a 3. Fletcher makes an and 1, which he had ice in his veins today, particularly in the second half. He made all his free throws. He was aggressive getting to the line. And I really think the Izzone pumped him up by chanting Foster's better.
Yeah.
In reference to his brother, who they pretty much said, you're not good enough to play here.
Yeah. They ran Foster off a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Fletcher, he kind of reminds me of a guy you would hate on Duke.
Yeah.
Just really solid. First reminds me of a guy you'd hate on Michigan State. Just gets rebounds, can do a little bit of everything. And those 2 kids coming to Purdue, in actuality, Michigan State's probably about as close to Fort Wayne as Purdue is.
And they were recruited by, at least Caleb First was recruited by Michigan State.
Yeah.
I assume Fletcher Lawyer was, but I could be mistaken.
He came down to Purdue or Michigan. I think the whole Michigan State drove him nuts with how his brother.
That makes sense. But it's interesting because Purdue, those guys stepped up. Purdue had some other guys not play so well. You talked about Morton, not so good offensively. Trey Kaufman continues to struggle. Poor guy just cannot find his confidence right now. David Jenkins didn't do a whole lot out there. I thought Brandon Newman actually played really good defensively.
He did.
Wasn't too good on offense. And Mason Gillis, I wish he could have got more of a run because I felt like he did good things, but that's what happens when you got so many good players at the 4 position.
Right. And Braden Smith did not have one of his better games. He wasn't awful, but
still had 6 assists.
Yeah, he did make a couple lazy turnovers.
Yeah.
One of them was just an itty-bitty bounce pass over, and he doesn't usually do that. Right when it was, 43-42 or something.
Right.
But he missed 2 shots within 3 feet. I was talking to you just before we got on the air here. That
3 feet might be kind.
Yeah. Zach missed I don't know why I didn't dunk it. Fletcher missed one. Braden missed a driving one. And then we stole the ball and passed to him. He was unguarded under the rim and missed it. You thought those would all come back to haunt him. And
there was even one in the first half where Ethan Morton stole it, but he dribbled with the wrong hand the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
He dribbled with the left hand on the right side and then went up for a right-handed layup. And you could tell from the beginning he wasn't going to go in because it just didn't look smooth and fluid.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're right. We blew a lot of chances, but like I said, where I really thought it was critical is when the kid missed 2 free throws and all of a sudden we went ahead and them committing a cheap foul on Fletcher. And I remember earlier in the year, I think it was a Marquette game, which we won by 5 or 6. Fletcher missed like 4 free throws in the last 2 minutes. And now that's the guy you want on the line.
Right.
Him or Braden.
Maybe even Zach.
Zach does.
I mean,
he was 16 for 18 from the line.
Yeah, Caleb was good today from the line too.
Yeah.
So.
Caleb, both fan bases seem to think they got robbed on officiating.
Well, you would in a close game.
And if I was a Michigan State fan, I'd probably think, how did Zach Edey play 36 minutes and not commit a foul?
He has more blocks this year than he does fouls.
He does. But there seemed to be several times where first would go up for a rebound.
He was getting old.
They had him arm, his arm taken. It used to be called, what was that? The hold.
Hook and hold.
Hook and hold.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It was one of the more physical games I've seen all year. And we wonder why the Big Ten teams don't do so well in March Madness. It's because they get so physical with each other. Not only do they beat each other up before the tournament, but also they get accustomed to playing this style of ball. And then when it gets in the NCAA tournament, it's officiated completely different.
Although last year's tournament, when Purdue lost in the 3rd round, I thought their opponent, I hate to say their name, in the 3rd round was very physical. And,
St. Peter's.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
Yeah. And I was up at the game to watch them play Texas the game before, and Texas had been my preseason national champion pick, and they let them play that game.
Yep.
So, who knows?
Well, if I'm a Tony Khan of AEW or Paul Levesque, aka Triple H of WWE, I'm scouting some of these Big Ten basketball players because they get the cred beat out of them. They might make good professional wrestlers. So
this is the first Michigan State team I can remember in 15 or 20 years that doesn't have that big thuggish power forward center. The number 22, somewhat, but they usually have.
Yeah, but he's not. I can't even think. I can picture the guys I'm thinking of, but I can't even think of their names right now.
Yeah, they've had them for years.
Yeah,
and guys that are built like Mason Gillis, except maybe 2 inches taller.
Yes,
and aren't necessarily.
Yes.
Talented, but they're pounders.
Yep.
And they don't have that this year. They have 2 extremely good guards. That might be the best guard tandem we'll play in the Big Ten this year.
Ohio State's are pretty good too.
Well, they're strong. You're right. And Penn State just because of Pickett.
Yeah. Hood-Shavino's pretty good at IU too.
Yeah. If Xavier Johnson and
Hood-Shavino
were together, they would be, a dynamite backcourt. Yep. But Shafino's really showing out now that Johnson's hurt.
Sure. But no, big win for Purdue nonetheless. Still tying the best school start in history, 17-1. I believe the 93-94 team got off to an 18-1 start before they dropped the game. So Purdue's got a chance to do that this week. They go on the road up at the barn for Thursday night at Minnesota, then host Maryland Sunday at Mackey Arena. And next week, they go up to Ann Arbor to play Michigan, and then turn around and host Michigan State again on Sunday at Mackey Arena. So twice in a little less than 2 weeks, which is interesting.
After Thursday, we'll have played 5 of our 8 games on the road.
Yeah.
So that means 7 of the last 12 are at Mackey. Yep. And then after we play Michigan, we'll be done with 10 games, and you only have 4 road games left.
Right.
And the road games after that aren't, with the exception of IU, aren't what I'd call the madhouse arenas. Maryland can be if they're good. We'll see, what their record is. Sometimes you catch teams late in the year at their place. Can be a little lethargic because of the team being maybe 14-11 or whatever. So we'll see.
Well, Illinois is up 3.5, and I thought we'd check in on my my co-host Josh Mudd, see how he's doing on Twitter. This was tweeted at 6:50. Pretty poorly played first half by @Illini MBB with Hawkins, Shannon, and Danger out with 2 fouls. Matt Mayer was fantastic though. #Illini.
Well, good. Matt Mayer's on my Big Ten fantasy team.
There you
and
go.
So was Walker today, by the way.
So it looks like Josh could be in for a nerve-wracking one tonight as well.
Well, Minnesota now, the last 3 games, has lost in overtime, lost to Wisconsin by 3 at Wisconsin, and beat Ohio State on the road. So that was the one team you thought, okay, that's kind of a breather, but now no breather.
No. And speaking of the Big Ten, the rest of the week looks like this. Tomorrow night, only one game in action. It's 8:30. Penn State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 2-point favorite. Who do you like in that one?
I like Penn State if Wall's not playing. Wisconsin is very offensively challenged. They've got maybe 4 offensive threats, counting one of them being the freshman from West Noble High School, Connor Esigian or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then their point guard with the multicolored hair.
Chucky Coburn.
Chucky. And then Stephen Crowell, who got abused by Trace Jackson, I guess, the other day. And Wall's their best player.
Yep.
And I think every team in the Big Ten, if you lost your best player, would
struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday night, we got 2 games, Ohio State and Nebraska. Must win for the Buckeyes already, in my opinion.
4-game losing streak, and they lost in overtime to Rutgers. They lost of course, they stole one from Rutgers.
Right.
And, of course, they lost the 2-pointer to Purdue. Northwestern went in there and but beat them a week ago. And then they lost to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they thought they'd get 2, maybe 3 of those 4. And they're going to be dangerous.
I think they bounce back and get it done in Lincoln, though.
Is it at Lincoln?
Yeah, it is.
Well, if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm nervous.
Yeah, well, why? I think you could play Georgetown right now and be nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've lost that many in a row, you just don't know where the team's head's at.
This Nebraska team plays defense.
They do.
They've been a little banged up too, and so I doubt if their guys are out, but we'll see.
Well, who are you picking?
Ohio State, but in a tight one.
All right. The other Wednesday night games, Northwestern at Iowa.
I'm picking Iowa. Iowa and Illinois are the 2 teams that are coming on like gangbusters. Both started out 0-3. They both won 4 in a row, I believe.
Yes.
It's amazing the good teams, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State, and I think even Indiana have all had 3-game losing streaks in the conference already.
Yeah, everybody's beating up on each other.
Yeah.
Thursday night, we have 4 of them. Starting with, this is going to be a bruising game. Rutgers at Michigan State.
I think Rutgers' length's going to bother them. I would.
They'll take it to them.
State like 52% and Rutgers 48%.
Rutgers will take it to them from a physicality standpoint too. So I'm going to take Rutgers on the road. I think they're going to hang right with Purdue for this conference title.
If Izzo can kind of embark his talents on the refs.
I don't know how he didn't get technical at one point today. But.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, well, I hate to go back to the game, but we inbounded the ball 10 seconds to go, and we're running down the floor. It looks like it's going to be wide open, and somehow
Well, that last minute of that game took 21 minutes.
I read that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I think college basketball's got to figure that out. That's ridiculous. And I'm going to sound like a baby here, especially in the win. No way only 0.4 tenths of a second went off that clock. But,
and how do they call it ball out of bounds on Michigan State? Review it. They can't overturn it.
Right.
They called it a jump ball, which we happen to have possession
It's just like refereeing in football. When you can't tell evidence, you got to stay with what you call on the field or the court. And it just, I think Big Ten refs make stuff up on the go sometimes.
I think so too.
The other games, Michigan at Maryland Thursday night.
Well, this is a must win for both.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Michigan.
I am too. Purdue at Minnesota.
I'm going to go with Purdue, but I don't think they run away with it. I'm thinking 8-9 points, something like that.
I'd say 10-12. And then Indiana at Illinois, the late one on Thursday night. That's a big one.
I think Illinois, it's going to be a contrasting of styles because Illinois' got athletes all over the place, but I don't know if they have anybody that will really stop Trace Jackson. This would be a good game if IU wants to win for Hood Schifino to go nuts.
Yep. Saturday, we got 3 games in the Big Ten. Wisconsin at Northwestern.
I'm going to go Northwestern.
I'll go Wisconsin just to be different. Iowa at Ohio State.
Oh.
A lot of must-wins for these teams.
I'm going to go Ohio State, and I don't know why. Iowa's interesting because I would have said Patrick McCaffrey was their second or third best player, and he took a leave of absence because of anxiety issues.
Right.
And ever since he's left, they've won.
Right.
Every game.
I don't want to say it's addition by subtraction, but I'm going to say it's addition by subtraction.
He's a good player, though.
I know he is.
If you're going to, choose.
Changes addition addition in the standpoint that it changed up the way they play.
Right. I
should say. Not that he's a cancer to the team or anything like that.
Right. They got scorers all over. They
just can't play defense.
It reminds me of Purdue football. You can put some scores up, but you can't stop anybody.
That's changing. It's the Walters era now, Dad.
Yeah, that's right.
I have taken Ohio State as well for some reason. Then Nebraska at Penn State.
Penn State.
No night games. It's noon, 2 and 2:15 on Saturday.
Well, I think the NFL playoffs, they don't want to really compete with them too much.
Yeah, because on Sunday, you got 3 games. They're early. You got a noon game, Michigan State at Indiana. So Michigan State's schedule this week was Purdue at home, Rutgers at home, and at Indiana. Wow.
Well,
I think Indiana gets that one.
I do too. I think they lose on Thursday, and then they win against Michigan State.
Michigan State's not the same team without Malik Hall. And we saw that early in the year. So
yeah.
Maryland at Purdue.
I'm hoping Purdue.
Well, yeah, we're hoping. I think Purdue gets it done at home.
That's when I think 12, maybe.
Then Minnesota at Michigan. And football, this is for the Little Brown Jug.
Yeah, the Little Brown Jug will go up to Michigan.
I think so, too.
This might be a get right week for Michigan.
So it's interesting. There are some teams with only one game this week. Oh, no, Illinois plays tonight. Never mind.
These three game weeks are so huge. You just think we got to come out with 2 of them, to keep pace. So
yep. But any other thoughts on the Big Ten so far this season?
Good copper freshmen. Purdue's lucky to have 2 of them. Ohio State's freshman Sensabaugh is outstanding. Hood Schifino's very good. I think it's a good league. It's funny. You got a lot of freshmen, and then you got a lot of 60-year guys like Miller. And, Northwest. And think about Northwestern. Here they are. I think they're 12-4, 12-5, something like that. They lost Nance to Carolina, Ryan Young to Duke, and then they got Miller Kopp playing at IU. Those all 3 could still be on this Northwestern team, and you would think they'd be better, particularly if they could have Nance. I think so.
Well, looking at around nationally and kind of in the state of Indiana, Butler is in action tomorrow night. They're 11-8. They host Creighton, who's 10-8.
Yeah, Creighton. They both need it.
Yeah, badly. And then Butler also travels to Connecticut on Sunday. That's a team that's reeling a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of like Connecticut in that one, though.
And then Notre Dame,
who's really reeling.
They're 9-9. They host 5-13 Florida State tomorrow night.
But I think Florida State's won 3 or 4 ACC games.
5-13.
Yeah.
Wow.
That didn't help. I was going to bring up that Purdue had good luck on the road against state schools this year: Florida, Penn, Ohio, and now Michigan. But Florida State isn't really helping our resume much.
Then Notre Dame hosts 8-10 Boston College on Saturday. So a chance for Notre Dame to get 2 much needed wins because they need to get hot if they want to.
I thought Notre Dame would be a surprise team. I thought they'd be a 6-7 seed in the NCAA tournament this year. So far, no.
Yeah, the ACC's interesting because there's a lot of teams with bad records.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Louisville's 2-16 in the basement there. That's just inexcusable at a school like that.
Well, there's some schools that are traditional superpowers, Louisville, Villanova. I wouldn't put Florida State as a superpower, but they've been an Elite Eight member 4 times, I bet, in the last decade. Syracuse. There's some teams that are down on their luck.
Checking other Indiana colleges. Indiana State having a pretty good year. They're tied for second in the Missouri Valley, 13-6 record right now.
Mm-hmm.
Also in that conference, Valparaiso and Evansville not so hot. Valparaiso's 7-12 and Evansville's 4-15.
Right
now.
Boy, yeah.
So and then Ball State in the MAC. Ball State's second in the MAC right now. They're 12-5. So Michael Lewis, former Hoosier, doing a pretty good job there.
Yeah. You know, if Woodson only stays around for another year or so, I'm sure he'll get a serious look.
And then the Horizon League, you got Purdue Fort Wayne's 12-6. They're in 6th place in that conference, but everybody's kind of jumbled. And that's whoever wins that conference tournament's going to get in anyways. So
same with Ball State, probably.
And IUPUI is 3-16.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you might have to catch up a Purdue Fort Wayne game.
Yeah, they talk them up pretty big on the radio up here. Yeah. So a lot of good basketball in the state of Indiana. I don't think I'm forgetting any other. I think I just listed all the Division I colleges. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody.
And there's a ton of good high school players coming up here in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yep. So good stuff. Good stuff. Any other thoughts on college basketball around the country or anything?
No.
Oh, well, before we get into talking about the playoffs or the Super Wildcard Weekend, as they call it, we do have a game tonight to wrap up Super Wildcard Weekend, the Skip Bayless Special.
Oh, gosh.
You got Dallas Cowboys, his favorite team, against Tom Brady, his favorite athlete of all time. The Buccaneers are 2.5-point underdogs. Who do you like to take it tonight?
I think over 17 games, the Cowboys have proven to be a better team than the Bucs. Neither one would surprise me. I think the Cowboys might have an edge because they played so bad last week that I think they've got the full attention of the coaching staff and stuff. I mean, Dak Prescott was just awful. And the rest of the team, I mean, they dropped a punt. The punter dropped the ball. They got ran by Washington. So, and, 2 games ago, Brady threw 3 bombs to Mike Evans. They didn't do anything else, but threw 3 bombs. I noticed the Tampa Bay center's playing. I also know Cowboys got their center back and their middle linebacker, Vanderlooy. Yeah. So, they're pumping this up. They think it's going to be one of the most watched Monday night games of all time.
Well, this will be the Tanner's Book of Prediction of the Week. About said the J-Mans.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will defeat the Dallas Cowboys tonight.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't shock me. 2.5-point spread means it's basically dead even.
I think Mike McCarthy needs a win tonight. If he loses, I think he's out of a job this week. Especially with Sean Payton out there.
Yeah, they haven't had all the complaints this year about time management and stuff.
We'll get into time management here in a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Jerry Jones isn't a patient owner. McCarthy would be a good pickup for somebody else if that happens. A lot of teams are looking for a coach out there.
Yeah.
But I just have a weird feeling. I've waited for the Buccaneers to click all year, and I just in my lifetime. Okay. Oh yes, the Cowboys have won some Super Bowls in my lifetime, but I was too small to remember them. I haven't seen them do anything in the playoffs, so I got to see it before I believe it. So.
Yeah.
And the J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week is brought to you by, like it is every week, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watrain. Travis is a multi-line agent for Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, specializing in home, auto, life insurance, and renters insurance. Contact Travis today for a free quote at 869-4561. His email is travis.watching@imfarmbureau.com.
I'll be back in 1 minute if you want to stall.
All right. Well, while I get that read done, I'm going to get into talking about NFL Super Wildcard Weekend, which was a fantastic weekend if you're an NFL fan. A fan like myself, my Denver Broncos haven't been in the playoffs since 2015, the second longest drought in the NFL behind the New York Jets. But I always still find myself in front of the TV watching the NFL playoffs and couldn't ask for better games. The worst game was probably the first one that saw the San Francisco 49ers defeat the Seattle Seahawks. But even that game was tied at half. We saw Seattle have a 1-point lead, I believe, going into half in that one. And then San Francisco woke up in second half, got really creative with their offense, got Deebo Samuel involved, got Christian McCaffrey involved. Brock Purdy, what a story. He's most likely going to be the Rookie of the Year, or he's got to at least be in consideration for the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was Mr. Irrelevant, which means he was the last pick in the NFL draft out of the 7 rounds. San Francisco took him last, and I guarantee you they probably didn't even think he was going to make the team, let alone have to start some games for him this year, let alone have to start in the playoffs. But it seems to me like San Francisco has got better with each of their quarterbacks getting hurt. Trey Lance goes down week 2. Then Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, they get better, and he goes down, and then Brock Purdy has made San Francisco even better. So, Dad, I was just talking about NFL Super Wildcard Weekend, how great of a weekend it was for NFL fans as far as good games. I said even as a Bronco fan, my team has the second longest playoff drought in the NFL behind the Jets, but I still find myself in front of the TV watching these games. And arguably the worst game of the weekend was the first one. But even that game was tied at halftime, as we saw Seattle have a 1-point lead at half. Then San Francisco really woke up in the second half, Brock Purdy especially, and I was talking about how he's Mr. Irrelevant. And in my opinion, San Francisco's got better each quarterback injury along the way.
Yeah. Hey, Brock Purdy, if he would have started about 2 or 3 games earlier, might have been Rookie of the Year on offense. He's a real deal.
Well, I said he probably won't get it, but he's in consideration, probably.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward. They got a lot of options. Do they go with him? Do they go with Trey Lance, who they mortgage a lot of their future for? Do they go with Jimmy Garoppolo, even though I think that's probably the least likely option of the 3? Or do they make a play for Tom Brady if he's available and wants to play?
If Brock Purdy takes you to the Super Bowl, why in the world would you go get a 46-year-old guy when
they were trying to do it a couple of years ago when Garoppolo took him to the Super Bowl?
I get it. But Brock Purdy, to this point, yeah.
I think San Francisco is my NFC favorite right now to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, Philadelphia's kind of skidded at the end of the year, and I know Jalen Hurts was hurt, but he didn't even play that great his last game. I know he couldn't. They didn't want to run him or anything, but I'd be really nervous if I was the Eagles about this upcoming opponent too.
Yeah, which will be the New York Giants. We'll talk about them in a bit, but San Francisco ended up winning that first game to kick off Super Wildcard Weekend, 41-23. But like I said, it was really close at halftime, even well into the third quarter, and then it kind of got busted up. If you're the Seahawks, do you give Geno Smith a contract extension, or do you let it play out for another year?
I'd probably give him a 2-year deal. Yeah. I wouldn't pay him in that 40s or anything. Not that I could care less what somebody gets paid. He's probably more of a $30 to $35 million guy.
I'd be cautious. He has a great year, way better than anybody expected. I'd be cautious if I'm Seattle, because it could be a Case Keenum-like situation where Keenum had a great year 1 year in Minnesota. Denver, even though it was only a 2-year deal, gives him pretty good money, and then he flames out after a year.
Yeah, that's probably a good. I was thinking more Rich Gannon. He was
an NFL MVP though for the Oakland Raiders.
Well, if Seattle would have went 14-3, he'd been MVP too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, but the Niners will host the divisional round against either the winner of tonight's game between the Cowboys and the Buccaneers.
That's the only unfair scheduling quirk by having a Monday night game. San Francisco plays their first game on Saturday, so they get 8 full days to prepare for a game where this winner tonight, we'll have 6.
Right. I don't know.
The way it goes. If you're going to have Monday night, that's what's going to happen.
Manning Cast is even doing one tonight, so It's going to be good. It'll be good. The other game, the Saturday night game was a thrilling game.
Mm-hmm.
So we see the LA Chargers get up to a 27-0 lead over the Jacksonville Jaguars, only to choke it away in historic fashion to lose 31-30.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Colts Chiefs game.
100%. 100%.
The one thing, I'm a big Justin Herbert fan. The one thing I thought he did, he missed a wide open Keenan Allen late in the first half for a touchdown.
Yeah, wide open.
That might have put the game out. You got a field goal. Then all of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence, who had just a all-time worst first half.
I was going to say that was probably the worst half. Touchdown. With those
27-7, then they get the ball. And once it got 27-14, it's open. And you'll talk about it soon. It was almost identical to the Buffalo-Miami game the next day. Once things start snowballing, the old nerves tighten up, and away you go.
I know a friend of the podcast and Rochester class of 09 graduate, Jason Smith, and his wife were in attendance, and Jason even got on the news after the game and was pretty fired up, just like Jason Smith would be after the game. So I was happy for him, and I was rooting for the Jaguars. I even messaged him early in the day and said, please just knock the Chargers out. So I think they're going to keep Brandon Staley. I think they're going to get rid of some other staff members, maybe some coordinators. But my question is Staley. It wasn't so much his his time management. It was, why did they only run the ball 8 times in the second half?
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I was scratching my head. I'm like, you got a huge lead.
Yeah.
You got Austin Eckler, probably, in my opinion, one of the, if not the most underrated player in the whole league.
Well, that's Jacksonville's strength, though. They shut down the run. But, I when it was 30-20 and they had 4th and 3 at the 23, I thought, Staley, the big criticism people have had of him is he goes for it too often. He's like Dan Campbell. They both go for it all the time, maybe when they shouldn't. He didn't go for it, and then his kicker missed. And there was so many big plays in that game. There was one play where they sacked Lawrence for a long loss. It was going to be 3rd and 19, and they called Bosa for lining up off sides. And I guess people who have looked at it said there's no way he lined up, and that's why he got so upset. And
he's got to keep his cool, though. He's had a couple moments like that this year.
There was a time, though, I think the ref showed him up a little bit. He was just walking off, and I know he was probably cussing under his breath. Mm-hmm. Ref followed him the whole way.
Yeah,
didn't have to, and he throws the penalty flag, and then later in the game there was another play where the right tackle jumped soon. It was a
false start. Yeah.
And then Bosa threw his helmet.
That's when he threw his helmet.
He went for 2 instead of 1 because it was from the 2 to the 1, and that ended up costing him the game.
Well, I thought it was interesting, and this is just me kind of looking maybe through my orange and blue glasses here. Well, he throws his helmet. Staley picks up his helmet, gives it to him, which I don't know too many coaches that would do that. Then he throws it down again, and Staley doesn't even talk to him.
Staley didn't put him back in the game either.
But he didn't put it back in the game, but he didn't even go talk to him. So I thought that was interesting.
He's done with him. So that's too bad. I like the Chargers because I like Justin Herbert.
They just find ways to lose.
Yeah, they do.
That's in their culture, and they're known for not spending a lot of money either. Yeah. So, which, I know our good friend of the podcast, Sean Shriver, thinks that, and I agree that the Chargers need to go ahead and get the Herbert extension done and over with. I agree. I think he's earned it, but I don't know how soon they'll do that with how cheap they normally are.
Yeah, I know Staley, he's 9 wins, then 10 wins.
Yeah.
He probably blew him a game or 2 last year. I know he won a game for him this year by going for 4ths and then went for 2 points at the end of the game. And then he got criticized by some for playing people in a meaningless game. But there's like 3 coaches that did the same thing. It's pile on saying, or the Chargers.
Well, I will say the Chargers are always one of the most injury-bitten teams. This year, I don't think they were the most, but they were up there. But
if Peyton gets that, I want him to get another job if that does come open, because it really irritated me that Peyton mentioned on the Colin Cowherd show about 6 weeks ago he'd be interested in that. And so every week Cowherd, is trying to run Peyton into – I think that's just BS if a coach
Well, Colin's trying to run Peyton into Denver too, and he has an interview with them tomorrow.
He has an interview with them, Houston, and Carolina this week.
How about Arizona?
That he was on today. I don't believe he said Arizona, but he said actually he Colin kind of poo-pooed Houston and Peyton did not rule that out at all.
Well, the reason that's attractive, I know we're getting a little off topic here. The reason that Houston's going to be attractive a candidate is that's going to be a fresh restart. Build it up however you want. Arizona, you're going to get Kyler Murray, but he's out for a majority of next year probably with his knee.
Yeah,
well,
he's a head case too. I don't know.
Denver, you get a decently talented roster, but you don't know what you got with it as far as in the quarterback's head.
Right.
But you got ownership who's going to give you whatever you want. And then Carolina, hard telling.
Quarterback purgatory. I don't know if they've ever had a top flight quarterback.
Jake Delhomme was their best in franchise history. And
Cam Newton.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I see Broncos broke him. I forgot about him.
Yeah. Because I was even going back to Kerry Collins, but
going back to the games, then Jaguars historic comeback. Good for that franchise. One thing I even told my fiance is one thing that irks me though sometimes is when a team like the Jaguars or the Rays in baseball don't have good attendance throughout the year, even when they're playing well. Then the playoffs, no seats open.
Well,
it's like where was this support all year?
Yeah. The reason I was really for the Chargers is I thought they could beat the Chiefs. I don't think the Jaguars can.
I don't either. We'll get to that.
Chiefs are with Williams out. I don't know if the Chargers could have went deep. That's where the Chiefs are susceptible to deep ball, and that's why if they did happen to play the Bills, if the Bills can get through, then that's anybody's ball game.
Speaking of the Bills, they won 34-31 against the Dolphins in a game a lot of people thought was going to be about a 30-point game, especially when the Bills got up 17-0. But credit the Dolphins for not quitting, staying in there, getting some turnovers. Yeah. Skylar Thompson doing what the Bills would give them. Unfortunately, a lot of those were field goal drives. But I know Josh is ultimately all Dolphin fans are disappointed to lose, but I think they got to be pretty proud of the effort they put out there with a third-string quarterback.
Oh, I think both teams are happy. I think the Bills are just like, got through that one, and then Dolphins played well. Now, the first interception from Allen, he should have never thrown. The second one, he bounced off of Beasley, and that's a pick, and then they get the fumble touchdown. But I thought a couple things. I thought the Bills scoring a field goal with only 23 seconds to go in the first half, boom, 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 field goal. And then once they got behind, Josh turned back into Superman like he was in the first quarter. In the second quarter, he was a dud.
Yeah.
So,
for how good he is, he does have a fumbling interception problem.
More so, even fumbling probably.
Yeah.
He actually fumbled 3 times in the game. One went out of bounds, and one an offensive lineman got. I don't know if he holds on to it, thinking he's so strong that he can plays, but interceptions are so easy. Just look at the stats, and you got 2 interceptions.
You're right.
Like I said, the second one was.
You're right.
And the first one, Romo was trying to say, well, the guy quit running. But even so, it was on the inside. It needed to be thrown on the outside.
Right.
But he also had a 54-yard perfect pass drop by number 10. I thought just when they were starting to falter, I said, momentum's changed. And then he throws this bomb, and they ruled a catch, and they overruled it. And then he threw another one to Diggs that Diggs probably should have had because he ended up with almost 380 total yards. Which is 150 more than the Bengals got in their whole game.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. If he doesn't turn it over, but the Buffalo's not the same Buffalo they were earlier in the year. They missed and they missed Micah Hyde.
They're gonna have to protect the ball better against the Cincinnati Bengals next weekend.
Well, I'll let you go through the process here.
Next game was Giants at Vikings. Another good one, but the Giants get to win 31-24. Brian Dable. Great coach. That might have been one of the better coach games I've seen all year.
Yeah, although I could not believe he didn't make it second and 19 at one time, and then Vikings converted 3rd and 9. But yeah, Daniel Jones was on point.
He was good,
but his guys were wide open.
Yeah,
but he ran the ball.
The Vikings kind of are who we thought they were all year on this podcast.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins did not play. I know he's taken the wrath for 4th and 8, throwing it 4 yards. But if you look at that replay over and over, that was it Williams on the middle of that line was coming hard.
Yeah, he had really nothing to do. You're throwing to take a sack, you get ridiculed even more. But Kirk, unfortunately, he's not going to ever let down the playoff or primetime stuff until he gets over the hump. And I don't know if he's going to.
Yeah, and he had the highest quarterback rating of any quarterback in the NFL playoffs this weekend.
Well, they couldn't get Justin Jefferson open, and he couldn't get the ball to him. So
nope,
it was the Hawkinson show for them.
Yep.
But kudos to the Giants. I mean, I don't think a lot of people had them winning, and great season to get to the playoffs. Now they won, and watch out, they could give Philly everything they want. They're division rivals. You know them better than anybody else. So.
And they pulled out some tricks too. The old Statue of Liberty, that was pretty cool.
Yep. And lastly, the Bengals defeated the Ravens 24-17. Interesting game here that came down right to the wire.
Yeah, and I thought Cincinnati was outplayed most of the game. Baltimore and Cincinnati fumbled right before half. They got it down there inside the 3, and you can tell their running team, they had no timeouts. They couldn't score a touchdown. And then obviously the big play was the quarterback trying to jump over the line from the 1.5 yard line and getting it knocked out for a 98-yard touchdown. That's a 14-point swing.
See, our Purdue guy there might get away with a block in the back. Marcus Bailey.
Yeah. You got to give credit to Mark Andrews. He was busting.
He was flying. He wasn't giving up. So.
You could tell those two teams do not like each other. That was a lot better game than I thought it'd be.
But Joe Cool comes through when they need to, and a lot better game than I thought so too.
Well, he's missing a couple linemen, and you could tell he had to throw the ball those little 8 and 10 yard outs. This would have been a heck of a game for Von Miller coming up. But
it would have. But man, to try to guard Chase and Boyd and Higgins.
Whew. Yeah. Burrow and Allen actually threw the same amount of interceptions this year, so they're both a little turnover prone. Now. It's funny because. Burrows seemed to all come in certain games. He had like a 4, a 3, and a 2. And Josh had cut his down the last 6 or 7 games, but he had another 2 this week. So
Well, looking ahead to the games, who do you like in the Jacksonville Kansas City game? The line right now is 8.5 points in favor of the Chiefs.
You have to like Kansas City, but Jacksonville's
they got nothing to lose.
They got nothing to lose, and they have a pretty good front four.
If I'm a fan of the AFC South, of the Colts, the Texans, or Titans, I'm thinking, crud, this team might run the division next 5 years.
They could. You never know. You always think that a lot of times. But they got a good young quarterback.
And I like their head coach.
And the receivers are all good. They're just not what you call burners.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you Jacksonville's tight end, so they need to incorporate him.
They usually spend a lot in free agency, so that's something to keep an eye on too. The Cons shed out the money in free agency, so I'm going with the Chiefs as well, unfortunately. But
I think they played earlier in the year, just like this weekend. Every game last weekend was a rematch of a previous game this year.
Sure.
I think Kansas City won 27-17 the first time around.
Giants at Eagles Saturday night. Eagles are 7.5 point favorite.
That's my upset special. I'm taking the G-Men 23-20.
I hope you're right. I'm going to take the Eagles just because they're at home and they got rested up. But I hope you're right.
Daniel Jones' best 2 games this year, both against Minnesota, who happened to rank 31st in pass defense, plus perfect conditions.
Yeah.
Philly could be a little cold and windy, and maybe they won't be able to throw the ball like they did this last game. But
sure.
But, Hurts and Jones are a lot alike. It's just Hurts probably a little better.
The game I'm looking forward to the most, I think, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills. Bills are 4.5 point favorites.
Yeah. It's funny. I've got that written down here. Cincinnati's on a 9-game winning streak. Buffalo's on an 8. But if you look at it, Cincinnati's last 6 wins are all by 1 score or less. Buffalo's very, very much the same way. In their 8-game stretch, 6 of them are 1-score wins. Neither one have been dominant. But then I also look at Kansas City. In their last 12 games, they had 12 games this year that were 1 score for the whole season. So all 3 of them are scary, but all 3 of them are very beatable. So, but I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think they're going to probably make Hamlin the guy who comes out as the 12th man.
That'd be cool if they can do that.
Up. course, you don't want to get Josh too excited because sometimes he gets too excited. He reminds me so much of Andrew Luck. He throws a little high, but he'll come out running the ball. And if those offensive tackles aren't ready for Cincy, it's going to be a good game.
I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals just to be different, and something about this team I like. I can't quite put my finger on it.
They got good weapons, got good running backs.
And for time, we'll make this quick. Do you think either the Cowboys or the Buccaneers would beat the Niners? I don't either.
I think the Niners already destroyed both of them this year. Or did they play the Cowboys?
I can't recall.
Yeah, I know they destroyed Tampa.
Well, we got the word association segment. I meant to do this before we started talking playoffs, but I'll hurry up and get through it. With the Cowboys and Buccaneers in action tonight, I give you 6 former Cowboys, 6 former Buccaneers.
All right.
So give me your first thought about each one. We'll start with the Cowboys. Tony Romo.
For some reason, America hated him, but he was one of the most clutch regular season quarterbacks. In his playoff history, he was only 2-4.
Yep.
But and he's always famous for not his quarterbacking, but for dropping the snap.
Snap at Seattle. Yep.
But he was darn good.
He was. Jason Witten.
He's a living legend. He was good. He always made big plays. Slow as molasses, but good.
Darren Woodson.
Really good player. I don't know what to say about him.
Troy Aikman.
Yeah, he was a product of being a quarterback on some excellent teams. He was a good player. I never thought of him as a top 5 quarterback, but he got 3 Super Bowls.
You think more highly of him than Skip Bayless does. Emmitt Smith.
Yeah, he's a great one. I never rooted for him because I didn't want him to pass my hero Walter Payton's records, but all-time leading rusher. The year he set out, Dallas starts 0-2. They put him back in, and they win a Super Bowl. So,
well, I gotta complete the trifecta here. Michael Irvin.
That guy could play. He was a mouth.
He can talk too. Still,
yeah. He's one of the few commentators in the NFL right now who don't just rip and berate players.
He does a pretty good job.
Like Ryan Clark and Damian Woody and these guys, even Rob Ninkovich. They always rip somebody, Aaron Rodgers or something. Michael Irvin never rips players.
Yep. Switching to the Buccaneers side, John Lynch.
He was a Hall of Famer. That guy could hit.
Could hit for the Buccaneers and the Broncos, and he's doing a good job as the Niners GM.
Hall of Famer, Missouri, so.
Keyshawn Johnson. I could have went with either team for him.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that rips people on the media for ESPN on 6 to 10 every day. But he was good. He was nowhere near Hall of Fame. Derek
Brooks.
He was really good. Him and Sapp and Lynch formed a power up the middle, nose guard, middle linebacker, safety.
Speaking of Warren Sapp.
Yeah, he fell in the draft heavy because of some potential marijuana use, which nowadays probably get you drafted higher. So, he was a great one.
Brad Johnson.
One of the least distinguished quarterbacks ever to win a Super Bowl.
The only reason I have him on here, I got in a rabbit hole on Twitter during my lunch break today, and Brad Johnson is going viral for trick football shots, throwing the football into basketball hoops and different things.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he roots for the Buccaneers and the Vikings whenever they play.
Yeah, he was a Viking quarterback too.
Mm-hmm. And Redskin.
Mm-hmm.
And last and least on this list, Mike Allstott.
Yeah, he was my favorite Buccaneer.
I figured he might be.
I'm surprised he's not gotten some Hall of Fame consideration. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler. Boy, you could still go by YouTube videos and watch him, and you could hear the guys in the background, boom, boom. There's a great one out there where Brooks and Sapp it was a tough game. It was like 13 to 10. They had to run out the clock, and they were just yelling at the coach, "Just give it to Mike. Just give it to Mike." And first down, 3 runs, first down, 3 runs, first down, and he was a stud.
He's pretty good in college too, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
On bad teams.
Best running back in my lifetime for
on bad teams. So.
Yeah.
And that's going to do it for the Word Association segment, which is brought to you by Proforma Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting in 2023, they have over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs, so you need to look no further. Let them be your one source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815. Hit me with that birdie or bogey question again, please.
Okay. Besides Trevor Lawrence and Joe Ferguson, name the other quarterback since the 70 merger who's thrown 4 interceptions and still won a playoff game.
I don't know why I think it's this guy, Eli Manning.
It is not Eli. It is Russell Wilson.
Wasn't even on my radar.
Against Green Bay. This game, you guys were ripping Rodgers a couple weeks ago about not more playoff success. They're up 16-0. Seattle does a fake field goal and runs it for a touchdown and an onside kick. And then they get the kickoff to start the overtime, and Rodgers goes from 16-0 to losing without ever touching the ball.
And then Seattle should have won that Super Bowl, and they didn't run the ball, and the rest is
Russell actually threw a 5th one late in that game. They got called back for a penalty.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm now 2 over par. This is off to a great start. It's I can do that on one hole to start a golf round. So.
Illinois is up 10 with 10 minutes to go.
Up 10 with 10 minutes to go. Well, we are off the air on the IC Sports Network. But, Dad, before we close, first of all, thank you for filling in for the J-Man this week. And second, I want to give you an opportunity to have a bold prediction or two for 2023. Oh. If you have any ready. If not, we can wrap things up. But
Brooks Koepka wins the Masters. How's that for bold?
That would be like I said, a Lift golf guy wins the Masters. So
yeah,
we're in agreement there.
Let's see if I have anything else. Georgia three-peating, is that
you're just going down my list. Yeah. Now, well, I have them making the playoff. I don't have them necessarily winning the championship.
Yeah,
I have them making the playoff.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't think
nope, that's all right. That's all right. I know I briefly mentioned that to you earlier, so I didn't know if you had anything ready. I wanted to give you the opportunity.
How about this? Somehow, some way, knock on wood, Purdue makes the Final Four this year.
You went there. I'm too afraid to go there, but you're going there. So. Yeah. Well, it sure was fun today. So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dad, again for filling in for Josh, and thank you to everybody for watching and listening. And hit that subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. And with that said, we'll be back same time, same channel next Monday. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks.